Imagine you have a small net. It works perfectly for scooping up a few items right in front of you. But if you try to stretch that same net across an entire grid, it snaps. That is exactly what happens when you try to build a universal rule using evidence that only covers a small subset of reality. In logic, this structural collapse has a specific name, the illicit distribution of an n-term. When an argument commits this error, it fails entirely. To understand why it fails, we have to look at the word distribution. In syllogistic logic, a term is distributed when a statement makes a sweeping claim about every single member of a specific group, not some, all of them. This brings us to a strict rule for evaluating arguments. If your conclusion makes a definitive claim about every member of a class, that claim must be supported by a premise that also covers every member of that same class. The error occurs when there is a mismatch. If your conclusion tries to speak for all, but your premise stops at some, the logic breaks. A logical conclusion simply cannot overdraw the account of its supporting evidence. Let's test this with an argument you might actually hear. Premise 1. Newly constructed homes are very expensive. Premise 2. New homes are very energy efficient. Conclusion. So an energy efficient home is going to be expensive. Look closely at the conclusion. It is making a universal, sweeping claim about all energy-efficient homes. To see if that claim holds up, we trace it back to the premise to see where it came from. The second premise tells us that new homes are energy efficient. But if we map this out, new homes only make up a tiny fraction of all energy-efficient properties. The premise gives us zero information about older homes retrofitted to save power. The arguer tries to cover the entire group, but their evidence runs out at the edge of that small subsection. Because the conclusion reached further than the premise allowed, the n-term was illicitly distributed. The argument fails to prove its point. Now let's test a negative claim. Premise 1. Those who ignore the relevant facts are likely to come to a false judgment. Premise 2. No jury in a criminal trial ignores the relevant facts. Conclusion. No jury in a criminal trial is likely to come to a false judgment. To find the structural flaw, look at the n-term in the conclusion, people who make a false judgment. Ask yourself, is the conclusion making a sweeping claim about this group? And does the premise support it with a sweeping claim of its own? Take a moment to evaluate. The conclusion states that absolutely zero juries fall into the false judgment bucket. But look at the first premise. It only established that ignoring facts leads into that bucket. It completely ignores the other reasons a jury might make a false judgment, like personal bias or relying on bad evidence. The premise did not cover the entire bucket. Negative sweeping claims require the exact same burden of proof as positive ones. If the premise leaves alternative possibilities open, the logic is broken. Recognizing this flaw is the first step. The next is knowing how to dismantle it in a real debate. Start by directly calling out the structural error. Point out that your opponent is drawing a conclusion about all members of a group based on a premise that only discusses some of them. If they push back, you can deploy a highly effective method, the absurd counterexample. You mirror their exact logical structure, but swap in everyday terms that force a ridiculous outcome. Like this: all fathers have children. No mothers are fathers. Therefore, no mothers have children. The first two premises are undeniably true, but the conclusion is blatantly false. Because the structure is demonstrably broken here, it forces your opponent to confront a difficult reality. If your counter-argument is flawed, their identically structured argument must be flawed too. An argument is only as strong as its foundation. A conclusion can never grab more truth than its premises paid for.